Okay, so today we're going to be solving equations with roots, and we did a little bit of this yesterday, but today we have a little bit more to do. So we're trying to isolate the variable that has the exponent on it, and then we're going to solve. So for this, the 2 is getting multiplied by r, so if this was just a regular r, what we would do first is the opposite, so we would divide each side by 2. That's the same thing that you're going to do here. So we have 1372 divided by 2, and that gives us 686. So these guys go away. So r cubed equals 686. Okay, so now the exponent, the variable is almost by itself, but this exponent is a 3, so we have to do the opposite. So the opposite of cubing something is cube root. So I'm going to cube root this side and put my 3 on my shelf, and these are going to cancel, leaving me just an r. Then I'm going to cube root this side, because once we do to one side, we do to the other. Okay, so first I'm going to check it in my calculator and see what happens. So the cube root of 686, and it's a decimal, so we're going to have to factor tree this guy. So we take 686, and then we're just going to start by dividing off some numbers. So 686, wow, a little slow. Okay, so divide it by 2. So 2 is 343, and I know that 343 divided by 7 is 49, so 7 is 49, and some of these you'll just have to guess and check. And then I know that 7 times 7 is 49. So remember, when we're doing our cube roots, we're looking for triplets. So I have a set of triplets. I have 1, 2, 3 7s. And then we have our odd man out, so our 2. Okay, so that means that we're going to have a radical in our answer. So one of these goes out of the radical or the root, and the other 2 go away. So we have as an answer 7, and it's a cube root of, the only thing that's left over that didn't come out was a 2, so that goes underneath our radical. And so now we have solved and reduced our radical. Woohoo! Okay, so let's try another one. Let's do number 3. So on this one, we're going to do the opposite of minus 10, so we're going to plus 10 to each side. So start by solving these just like regular 1-steppers and 2-steppers. So now we have n squared equals negative 6 plus 4 is 10. Oh wait, what? Negative 6 plus 10 is 4. So now we have to get the variable by itself. So we have to undo. The opposite of squared is square root. So the squared and the square root cancel. And what we do to one side, we must do to the other. Now, remember, whenever we have a square root, we want the positive and negative version of the answer. So we're going to type this guy into our calculator. So square root of 4 is 2. So your answer is 2, plus and minus 2. Because we're not sure if it was 2 negatives that multiplied to get to our 4 or 2 positives that multiplied to get to our 4. Okay, gosh. All the rest of this is pretty similar, just different operations. Let's look at number 7. So the first thing we're going to do on number 7 is we're going to divide each side by 10. So then we have p squared equals 640 divided by 10 is 64. So now our variable is pretty much by itself, but it has that exponent of 2. So the opposite of squaring something is square rooting. Those will cancel, leaving us just our p. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. So we have to square root that side. Since we are square rooting, we're going to have the positive and the negative version of our answer. And the square root of 64 is 8. So our answer is 8, because 8 times 8 is 64. And again, we're not sure if they should be 2 positives or 2 negatives, so we leave it like that. Let's see here. If your problem looks like number 10, let's do number 10. So this one is getting divided by 7. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is multiply. Okay, so we're going to multiply each side by 7 on each side. I just said that. Sorry. To get our variable by itself. So then g cubed is by itself, and 50 times 7 is 350. So g cubed equals 350, or g to the 3rd power. Now we have to get our g by itself. And since it's all alone except for the exponent, we're going to do the opposite of cube, which is cube root. So those will cancel, leaving just our g. And remember, since this one is a cube root, it's not necessarily our plus and minus. It depends on what this guy is. Since this is a positive, our answer will be a positive. So since we cube root on the left, we have to cube root on the right. And we're just going to test it in our calculator. So 3 second x with the boxy button. And we're going to type 350, and that gives us a decimal. So now we got a factor tree. So we're going to do 350. Well, 10 and 35 make 350. And 10 is 2 and 5, and 35 is 5 and 7. So it looks like I don't have a triplet at all right here. And you can double check this and make sure by doing 2 times 5 times 5 times 7, and that gives us 350. So since we don't have any triplets, we can't reduce the radical, and we just leave it. So g is equal to the cube root of 350, and this is our answer. Sometimes they don't reduce, but a lot of times they do. Okay, let's do another one. These are two-steppers, so like 15. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to get this n squared by itself. So we're going to do the opposite of minus, so we add 5 to each side. Because remember, we add, subtract first, then multiply, divide. So now we have 9n squared equals 4 plus 5 is 9. Then to get our n squared by itself, we divide each side by 9, and n squared equals 1. So then, since it's the squared, we have to do the opposite, so we square root. Those will cancel, leaving just the n. What we do to one side, we must do to the other. So then we're going to type in the square root of 1. Make sure you don't use a cube root, and that is 1. Remember, since it's a square root, we could have the positive or the negative version of the answer, so we write both of those down as well. Okay, and here is another one. Let's do one more. Oh, let's do 23. Okay, so we are trying to get our r by itself. So again, we pretend like there's no exponent. So the first thing we do is add, subtract. So we're going to subtract 7 on each side. So now we have 12r cubed equals, so 32935 minus 7 is 32928. Okay, so then the 12 is getting multiplied by the r, so the opposite is divide. So we're going to divide each side by 12. Okay, so 32928 divided by 12 is 2744. So we have r cubed equals 2744. Now in order to get our root, so this is our volume, we have to do the opposite of cubing something, which is cube rooting. What we do to one side, we do to the other. Okay, so that means we have r left over, and it's going to be positive because the volume was positive. So 3 second x with a boxy button, and we type in 2744, and we get 14. So this time our answer is 14. Okay, sorry about the screaming. If you have any questions, please let your teacher know. Have a great day. Bye.